my friends Sinister and Gimme Dat Wheat for a special edition of the Melee Stats podcast for the 5 days of Melee. We're here to raise $50,000 for Direct Relief, a humanitarian aid organization currently focused on supporting communities that are suffering to COVID-19. So we really appreciate your time here. And how are you guys doing, Ambi and Wheat?
I'm
doing
great.
great. Thanks for asking us at the same time. It's very clear that we have not had a podcast in such a long time.
Yes, it's been a minute for sure.
But it is so great being here, nonetheless.
It's so great to come back after so long and do it in front of our largest audience ever, live. So I appreciate that.
Well, I think a lot has changed too since our last deep dives episode. You know, we've started making films. We've continued to remain engaged in the scene, following net player results and whatnot. It really just feels like a completely different era for us as Melee Stats. But we're really happy to be here at the end of the year to kind of celebrate what's been going on. So before anything else, why don't we start talking about the winners and losers of 2020 in the rollback era? Where do you guys want to begin? Do either one of you want to start? Or
Sure, yeah. So 2020 has been a wild year. 2020 has been a year that we have not seen anything like in Melee, and we're all learning to play it differently, right? No one would say that Melee's not around, but it's just different. So that means that some people are naturally going to do better, and some people are naturally going to do worse. So we have devised a group of people who we call the winners of the rollback era and the losers. So I can go ahead with mine. Ambi, you can go ahead with yours. Ambi, you want to go ahead with yours first?
Sure, I'll go first. So I'll start with a winner because I think that's a more positive note. I do want to give a shout out to Bones 0 to Death. One of my eternally favorite players. I've been in the scene for like a really long time. I lurked on Smashboards like back in like 2007, right? And like anyone that's been on Smashboards for any amount of time, you've heard or seen Bones in action, right? The dude has like 30,000 Smashboards posts where he theory crafted for like 10 years all of these little situations, right? And like this entire time he's been like right at the precipice of being like a super noteworthy player, right? He would super go after like the borderline players. He would take sets off of Nagy, but he would have a difficulty with players like Warhammer, right? And rollback comes along and suddenly Bones is popping off. He's got wins on Billy Bo Peep. He's got wins on Bobby Big Balls. He's got wins on like Lod and Rishi and Ginger. And I really think that like there's like a specific theory I have about Bones, right? And the theory I have about Bones is that he's just more powerful the closer he is to his room. I think that like if you think about Bones' room, right? Like that's where he wrote like his 30,000 Smashboards posts, right? Like there's just like this mysterious aura in Bones' room, and now he can play sets and tournament there. So like it's not really that big of a surprise for me that he's doing so well, but I'm definitely super happy to see him finally live up to the expectations that he's had for himself as a player. So Bones is my big winner. So you guys,
dude, I love Bones' discourse because it's so funny. People talk about how Falco is broken on that play, and they're like, if you ever see like all these like Falcos that aren't good get results, and it's just literally like people being mad at Bones.
Yeah, Bones has been working so hard.
Like there were people who were like delay based netcode when we had locals for that, some Falcos did better, but like Bones has consistently done well. It's so funny that like people are like, damn, Falco's too good. This guy Bones shouldn't be winning. It's like he's been around for over 10 years. It's not crazy that he could suddenly be, pretty good.
And with Bones, I think it's particularly interesting even on LAN because he has been gradually improving. Like I remember when I was just getting into the scene a little bit more, like he took a game off Muji King, and I remember watching him thinking, "Oh wow, who's this Bones guy? He seems pretty good." And you'd watch him against top players and he'd take them close, or he'd look really good, and then something heartbreaking would happen in game 3 or game 5, right? Like that used to be the Bones classic, that he would take a really good player to game 5 and then lose, get sent to losers and get upset or something like that, right? But like if you really do look at his results, like his major results and kind of his activity, like it's not like it's not like he's never not improved, right? It's just competing is really difficult. He's always improved at his own rate. Like last year, I remember I believe he beat Hugs at SmashCon. I think it was, and it's not like this improvement came out of nowhere. So it is kind of nice to see Bones get a little more recognition, even if, as we like you said, sometimes he's kind of like he's seen as this figurehead of, oh well, Falcos are just doing better on net play.
They don't even mention him. They say Falco's
Yeah.
broken, and it's like clearly you mean Bones. Like, be honest here. Speaking of Falco, Ambi, I think you have another thing that kind of connects with this theme.
So the opposite of this, right? My first big loser of the net play era, I actually think is Ginger, and it's gonna sound ridiculous because
You're gonna have to explain this.
I want to
to
hear
us.
this so much.
If you think that Ginger is doing really well on net play, I think you are erroneously looking too hard at his actual non-rollback LAN results from before. So if you think about this purely in the perspective of Ginger's performances before and after on net play, it's a real fall from grace, I gotta say, because Ginger was the completely uncontested world champion of net play before rollback came out. He was the number one player. He had a 99% win rate on the ladder. He was untouchable. He was beating master level players with Kirby. Just completely untouchable. And then rollback comes out, and Ginger starts losing sets to people like Axe and IBDW, Wizrobe, people who are not number one on net play. And now we have a new number one on net play who is totally just stealing Ginger's shit, right? He's doing the same Kirby bit, but with Roy. He's got his like 99% win rate. Like, I think that if you're Ginger, it's gotta hurt, right? It's gotta hurt not being the world champion of net play anymore. So hopefully we could see a return to form on net play once IRL results come back and all these people get off of net play.
Ginger's it's such a funny case study because I think, like, if you look at it, would be ranked higher right now than he was before. He was like I think maybe a summer rank or something like that. He was like 18th or something, but he generally was like 20 to 25. And like now he's knocking on the door of top 10, but it's so funny. And like I love now, no ill will. He tweeted out and he said,
"Oh, you're bringing this up."
He tweeted out a poll.
Come on.
He tweeted out a poll and he asked his fans. And he said, "Am I top 10 on net play?" And this is like top 10 on net play, North American, right? Because Leffen and Amsa aren't playing. Hacks and Fiction were two top 10 players who didn't play net play. It's like, this is the path, right? He could be top 10. All of the stars aligned. And his fans are just like, don't know if I see top 10.
I love the idea of like Ginger fans trying to balance like, the persona of reasonableness with their immense like love for Ginger. Like they can't lie to him, right? But they still gotta show the support.
You're the fans. You say yes. When Mango says he's the greatest of all time, they say, yeah, I don't even know who else could be the greatest of all time. You just like lie to the person because you're so blinded by fandom.
When Ginger asked if he was top 10, his fans were like, I think if you work really hard, you can
Dude, his fans are so vicious. They're too honest. They're too honest.
They're too driven by reason.
Too sensible.
Now, Eric, I have a question for you. So you put Ginger on your losers. What is the doc pick for you? Is that like a better or worse thing for his status as a loser?
Oh no, I think the doc's awesome. I think a lot of people are hating on the doc. I think that's so ridiculous.
Unambiguously good.
I think Roy is so broken against space animals. I don't know, dude. Like I brought up Bones.
I think there's one.
I brought up Bones as a winner of net play. You see, Don't Test Me versus Bones, dude. I never want to play that matchup ever.
Dude, that combo on FD, that combo he hit on FD with some like Scar and Ultima Scout stuff. That was screwed up.
Like unofficial loser is definitely any spacey that has to play Don't Test Me.
It's really unfortunate.
How do you get out of that? It's like you beat H-Box and then you got to play Zane's Roy and you lose. It's like
it's rough, dude.
How do you do that? Edwin, do you have any winners and losers?
Yes, I do actually. So to start off on a positive note, I want to bring up my biggest winner of 2020 rollback era, and 2020 really in general. It's a Philadelphia Jigglypuff player named Dawson. Okay,
My man.
but it's not for the reason that you think. You might think of Dawson as the man who won a 6-person local over Hungrybox, but that's not his biggest accomplishment of 2020. You might think of him as the guy who eliminated Hanky Panky from the latest net play event that he entered. However, that's not his biggest accomplishment of 2020 either. The biggest accomplishment of Dawson's 2020 is on November 9th, 2020, where he accomplishes the unthinkable. In the Melee ladder for the East Coast bracket at TMT, he finally beats Kem after 22 sets. He finally beats him. And those 22 sets, by the way, those were only the ones that he officially counted. I asked Dawson about it before this episode. I looked it up in the Melee Stats podcast server, and Dawson said that he actually thinks that there might have been 40 sets in there that weren't counted in the database that he was using. Can you imagine what it's like to go to the same local, lose to the same guy every single week, and sometimes you don't even make it to him because you lose to someone else? You're only preparing for him, and it's just not enough. And the funny thing about it is, I asked Dawson of how he felt after he beat Kem in ladder, and he said it didn't feel like a victory. He said it felt like Kem was throwing to him. There were times in their rivalry where Kem beat him in a Jigglypuff ditto. This guy, if you want to talk about someone having a soul read on someone, this was it. So for Dawson to overcome it, I think is truly for him, it is such a monumental accomplishment.
You know, it's so funny that Kem Dawson is this rivalry in Philly that is so lopsided and was finally overcome in this really
got a history of that.
emotionally muted way. It kind of reminds me of this this other rivalry that happened also in Philly that was also, a double-digit number of sets in a row to win. I don't know. Have you guys I'm sure know of the Stango R2D rivalry, right?
Yep.
Have you guys
one
seen
of my favorites?
Have you guys seen the set where R2D finally beats him? It's so funny because it was 80 sets in a row or something ridiculous, right? And then he finally beats Stango, and then he just gets up and shakes his hand and goes on with his day. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? I would be jumping up and down, but I guess it's just a Philly thing, dude.
I think there's something so beautiful about just getting relentlessly farmed by someone over and over again, and then finally breaking the streak. Because that's kind of like a do or will anything change moment, right? Maybe this is the moment where your rivalry turns the other way, and you start going back and forth, or you turn the corner on someone. And sometimes it's just a blip in a larger trend, and nothing changes much. Anyways, that's why I picked Dawson as my biggest winner.
Can I say, when you open your mouth to anyone, right, in the Melee scene, and you say the ultimate winner of 2020 Melee, if you ask what you're going to say, it's going to be Zane, right?
Right.
Zane is clearly on a level that we have not seen since Hungrybox during the last half of 2017, or Amon in the first half of 2017, or Ken. And yet, you are here telling me that Zane's run of exclusively first place, except for one turret or a second, is better. Doesn't mean anything, because that's not the same as Dawson beating Kem. And you know what? I believe you.
Well, Zane won Genesis 7, so I mean, no, it's actually Zane was my second choice for
my second choice, right behind Dawson.
Best players of 2020, Dawson, and then coming in second is Zane.
Yeah. So
a close second, but a definitive second.
Definitely second.
So for my loser of 2020, I wanted to just, and I'm really stretching the interpretation of loser here. Maybe not to Ginger level extremes, but I just wanted to say that literally anyone who is good in Europe, I am so sorry, because heading into the year, I really thought that Europe's mid-level, everyone kind of beneath AMSA tier or so, I really thought we were going to see an explosion in talent.
They're also good.
Yeah, they really. I mean, just look at what happened today with Pipsqueak, right? I've never seen Professor Pro lose a Fox Ditto so badly in my life. Like this dude death touched him off every opening. And that's just one guy in Europe, right? Like there's Solo Battle, there's Frenzy, there's Mackenzie, Lavinji, Rix, Ja Raiden, Kinjo is another really impressive player that I think has a ton of potential. Same with like Idzar. One of the coolest storylines is that I thought these players are going to travel a lot more, but because of circumstances outside the game, pandemic and everything, they are getting such good results against each other and against the rest of the field, and they're getting
It's such
such
an interesting region. It's so
yeah,
sad. No, they're
they're
getting
getting
any recognition.
they're getting like Ja Raiden is beating Prof multiple times, but like no one in the
It just doesn't
broader community is
just doesn't
no one's
matter.
paying attention.
Because if
It's
you
just-
don't already believe that Europe is good, right? If you didn't come into 2020 saying that Pipsqueak is going to pop off, Solo Battle is going to pop off, we're going to see like
those two players were literally my players to watch out for in 2020. I got robbed, dude.
At the end of last year, I said that I was confident that they would be top 100 this year. If you didn't come to the year like that, you were seeing these like people, and you're like, damn, I guess Prof doesn't has it like he used to, right? Like, what's up with Prof? Like, that's how you look at this. You're like,
dude.
damn.
Yeah,
Prof
it's like, no, dude, they got a lot better.
Yeah. Dude, it's like the
doesn't
whole
matter.
Smash community. The whole history of the game has been like this. Like all the way back to like Genesis 1. Like people were like, "Oh, dude, Armada, that guy won't make top 32." Like he's just making combo videos against people who don't know how to DI.
Yeah, they can't DI, no DI.
And then Armada like dropped that one game to What is Fear and like Phil's in the background of the recording being like, "You can't even beat Unranked SoCal Cannons. You can't beat Music King." And then like he beats Music King in the same tournament. It's like that's how I feel about Europe right now. It's
Yeah, like people
we're
who
all
aren't
just
in the
Phil.
yeah, like
yelling
people
at
who aren't
Europe.
in the know. Yeah, people who aren't in the know are gonna see like Kinjo destroy Frenzy and Falco Dittos, and they're gonna be like, "Oh man, like it really looks like Frenzy fell off." It's like, no, like everyone got really good.
Yeah, how are you supposed to like say that Kinzo's good without someone being like, I don't know any of the players you're mentioning?
Yeah,
It
like
sucks.
so that would be my pick for.
And I mean, and the fact that like when we are like Zane's definitely number one, Mango's definitely number two, we do this thing, and it's just like Leffen cannot be here. Like I know we're kind of talking about all the up and coming players, but like we got to think of that guy who literally could be number one, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is another like interesting thing, right? Because you're absolutely right that Leffen could be number one, but I feel like because of how good he is, it gives this weird perception that like it's a bad thing that the rest of Europe can't beat his Sheik, and it's like no, Leffen Sheik is actually like really
I think it's
solid,
really, really good.
Yeah, like that's not a bad, like if you can't beat Leffen Sheik, that's not a bad thing. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I actually think Leffen Sheik is like once IRL events come back and we get to see more of Leffen Sheik against Marth.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like some stuff that people have never seen before. I think it's going to be ridiculous. I think I don't know. I've seen enough like duck videos of like stuff that Sheik is not doing in the current meta to be like, dude, Leffen with Sheik would be so insane. Like I'm just remembering all those arguments that Leffen had with Duck about like whether or not you could react to like Samus F tilt or not. And I'm just like, wow, Duck is doing such an amazing job with Sheik. I'm like, oh, Leffen's playing this character now. This is gonna be pretty scary. So I think
I'll never forget DMing Wheat after like we were both watching Leffen Sheik versus Zane Marth, and the level of gameplay was so high. I just DM'd him because I was just like so in amazement of what I was watching. I couldn't believe Leffen Sheik had gotten good so quickly. I was like, dude, this is the highest level Marth Sheik I've ever seen in my life. Like I've never like I remember 3 years ago watching like PP versus Mewtwo like from that Xanadu and thinking that was like the apex of Marth Sheik, and then watching Zane versus Leffen's like his new character, it just like all dawned on me how high. Now I don't know if it's better than Plup Sheik, but I remember just instantly thinking like this is the highest level Marth Sheik play. It was maybe a little ridiculous.
We made fun of you for that. I remember that.
Dude, it was so good.
I mean,
though. Like,
I deep down agreed.
It.
I made fun because I saw too much of myself in him. Speaking of myself, it's time for my section for winners and losers. I'm gonna keep on the trend. We mentioned Dawson, we mentioned Bones, we mentioned 2 unranked players, 2 not top 100 players. I'm gonna mention a third, Android Zero, a player that for Like before COVID, Edwin and I referred to him as the best player on Earth.
Like, you literally cannot defeat Android Zero.
He'd get like 13th at a Friday night turnip, and I'd be like, "Damn, how did they beat that guy? He's literally unbeatable." The great thing about him, so he's got like a ton of good results, right? Like all these top players he beat, and he had that really good run that got him into SCL, the first week of SCL. That's all great. What I think is the best thing about him is that when you watch him play, he's actually cool. Because if you watched him play before, he was like, imagine taking everything cool that Wizzy did and just being like, I don't need that. Let's take that out of here. He was just like a tech chase machine. It's like if you ever see VODs of Solo Battle from when he first switched from Smash 4, it's like someone who thought Hungrybox was cool, but like was too risky. And now you watch both of them, and Android Zero is just like, I guess I'll just Falcon kick here in this tech chase. I guess that's what I should do. I guess I'll just charge down smash at the ledge. And then Solo Battle is like, you know, edge canceling dares into rest. Like the evolution of them, not only in their skill levels, but in just how they went from being like, no offense to anyone, pretty lame, to like some of the most exciting players of their characters. That is, I have a ton of respect for that.
Yeah, Android Zero is nuts. I have this theory that if you like merged Android Zero and Panos, you'd get the best player on Earth. Right? I definitely think that they're like
that's a very
like
funny
the yin and yang of each other. I think it'd be really funny if they merged together and became one player.
You ever seen Android Zero stream? He'll just like play in bracket, and he'll just like destroy whoever he's playing against. And then in between matches, he'll like, what do I do? And he'll always just watch dash cam footage on YouTube. And he'll be like, damn, they shouldn't have break there. Just like analyzing like who's at fault here. It's amazing. It's God, such VOD review, yes. such a great stream. I can do a loser, but
I will say wait, quick thing about Android Zero. I think the one bad thing he had all year was losing to Smash Daddy's Link.
Ooh, that's a rough one.
It's net play. You don't count the last couple.
Fair enough.
It's like
look, he's still the best player. He's still the best player.
Still
in the
the best
world,
player in the world.
so.
Still impossible to beat.
He's no bees, but he's pretty good.
Dude, I would love like in the middle of like June. I can't believe I'm nostalgic about this or whatever. Like pre rollback net play or whatever. I remember seeing like a bracket of grinders like on the West Coast, like, you know, all your typical like borderline PR, like high level, like arcade, like regional Arcadian type people. And I'd see Android Zero in the bracket. I'd be like, oh, dude, Android Zero is going to whoop everyone. Like, I've never seen a more free bracket for Android Zero. And he would just always win them or would do super well. That's how, like, that's when I started thinking, like, this guy is super legit. And he just, like, got better throughout the year.
All right. I mean, hey, best player in the world. I agree.
Can't beat him.
My loser is actually, I'm going to do two in a row because they're kind of tied together. My loser for 2020 is Hungrybox. It's just like, you know, I want to try to not show as much joy when I say that he's losing to every single person who's ever been PR'd in any region. But that's what's happening, right? Is like, we're watching his stream and it's like, okay, damn, this guy is like mid-level PR in Alberta. I think he's going to beat Hungrybox.
Yeah, it's like you see Quaff take game one. It's like, are you serious? Or something like that.
Dude, I see like any random player line up, and I'm like, this could be it. It's like Polo versus Hungrybox, and I'm like, tough one for Hbox.
He's got lemon juices in his path.
Yeah, he's got lemon juices. Great scary
and
player.
If he beats lemon juices, he's got Game Boy Junior after. This is a hard bracket for him. Hard bracket for
he's getting third at Wichita.
Yeah,
dude,
like,
it's so crazy though, because like he'll go for he'll like go from that, right? But like you actually pointed this out pretty well. When you saw his summit pool, you're like, oh yeah, he's gonna beat everyone in this pool.
100%. That was the freest prediction I could have ever made. I should
at the same time, like
I should have gone to Vegas. I should be on a yacht doing this podcast right now because I knew that he was going to win his pool. I was so confident he was going to go through the entire thing. It's all based on proving someone wrong, right? Like, he is one of the best players of all time. That is undoubtedly true. He is possibly, he could be the GOAT in a year or two. And yet, if you had to ask me what drives him, it's just proving idiots like me wrong who like make predictions and be like, oh, I think he's gonna fall off. Like, it's so clearly based on that. And the second I saw Mango tweet that he shouldn't have been invited, I was like, oh, it's over. Like,
You were convinced that he was going to win the whole tournament. I remember you were panicking.
Yeah,
I wasn't
You felt that
we
panicking
pool.
was
at all.
You were
so
like, dude, Hungrybox is
confident.
going to win.
I knew he was going to win his pool, and I thought that if he played IBW or Zane or someone like that, I thought he would lose. But I said, if he plays Mango, he's winning. It's like the one person who this is going to work on.
That's so nuts, dude. That's like night and day.
And that fills in my next winner. My next winner is Hungrybox.
Right.
It's for that reason. There's no way that you can talk about Melee without talking about Hungrybox, right? It's like even the people who didn't want him to win when we were having majors, even the people who rooted against him every single thing, it's like monkey paw situation. Like, here it is. Here's him losing, and now we got to hear about it all the time. And guess what? We're never safe. Like, he's a winner because he could win at any point, but the real reason is he is now like the third biggest streamer in Smash. I'm counting Ludwig as a Smash streamer.
Sure.
That is nuts. He is dropping pizzas on the floor.
His YouTube channel is popping off.
His YouTube channel is popping off.
He's dominating the content game.
Put a couple soundproof things. Dude. I'm worried about his heart rate. I'm worried about his neighbors. Like, they're hearing every time a character gets announced, I'm sure like any dinner they have is ruined because like 4 blocks away they just hear.
I will say it's very strangely not just entertaining, but it's very joyful watching Hungrybox pop off alone in his room on stream. When he used to do it at majors, I would sincerely get upset.
It's so different. It's so different when it's in his room. I'm like, this is so funny. I love this actually.
Yeah,
he,
like he's alone.
Pillow.
He's alone. He's got like the chat comments on the screen and everything. It just hits different. I can't explain it.
I just want to know like how long it continues. You ever see him when he like, it wins a game 5 situation with Zuppy or something like that, and he just like darts off screen? It's like, where does that stop? Does he like dart off screen? I don't think
it ever does, dude. I think it was.
You think he just like cycles all the way back in? Like he doesn't get to the hallway and he just goes like, okay, that was close. You think he zips around the entire room like Roadrunner or something?
And the one against Zuppy, you actually can't see his face. Like when he's playing the game, his face is off camera. But I don't know if he like noticed and didn't bother to change it, or if he just didn't notice it at all. So like when you pop off, you can't actually see him like react for the first portion of it until he like moves his head back into the frame and like faces at the camera. It's a beautiful pop off.
For sure. I want to mention to the fans really quickly. So at the end of the show, we're going to have a segment where we read Q&As. It's a $10 donation to Direct Relief. So you are going to do that. If you want us to answer a question, you can do that and just make sure you put your question in there. And then we'll be reading that in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, make sure you put it in the donation comment if you want your question to get read.
But yeah, our dumb thoughts on everything.
I think this is a good time to transition to our next segment. So
all right. So for those of you familiar with the show, you'll know what the Melee Stats speed round is. Basically, I ask a series of 5 questions. I ask 5 questions. Each other person on the panel, so in this case, Wheat and Ambi, get 30 seconds to answer it. And the person with the best answer gets the point. And the person with the most points at the end of the speed round gets a minute to talk about whatever they want. Sound good? Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Let's start with the Melee Stats speed round. And
a heated rivalry for those who might not be familiar with our podcast. This was the Michael Jordan. I was going to say the Michael and Jordan.
The Michael and Jordan.
This is the Michael and Jordan. The Michael Jordan, LeBron James. I know that's not a rivalry that they didn't play together, but
yeah, actually, I think I'm more Will Chamberlain.
So, which of you wants?
I should have said Mango Armada.
Which of you wants to go first because you'll just alternate?
It's not really
pick.
Okay, sure. You're gonna go first and then we'll alternate between questions. Okay.
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Who is the second best Marth main right now?
It's both LSD and he's also they're also like the 12th best Marth main. It's like if you look at results, it's LSD, and then if you talk to the people who he beat, he is not PR level. Like they're literally the worst player who they've ever played, and they just got 3-0'd.
Okay.
So LSD.
I think it's Mango. You guys don't know how good Mango's Marth is. I will say this at every opportunity. Mango has always been the second best Marth, no matter how good the best Marth in the world is. Like when
best
a new
Marth
person,
changed.
yeah, when a new player becomes the best Marth in the world, the best Marth in the world before becomes the third best Marth, and Mango's Marth is the second best Marth. If you guys haven't watched the Mango Lucky Pride set from like 11 years ago, you should just go watch that right now.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say? You have like 5 seconds.
No, Mango's Marth.
Okay. Wheat wins this round.
It's fair. LSD is a good answer.
Okay. Which player has the better 2021? Hungrybox or Bobby Big Balls? Ambi, you go.
So I think that you need to stratify this question along financial and bracket result based concerns. I definitely could see Hungrybox even going so far as like retiring in 2021, whereas like Bobby Big Balls is like going nuts. I also think that Bobby Big Balls is gonna suffer the more cartoonish losses throughout the season, but I could definitely see Bobby Big Balls doing really well, especially if IRL events take a really long time to come back and like come back like sort of slowly. I definitely think that Hungrybox is going to make $1 million in 2021 through like endorsement. He's going to get like a Nike deal or something.
All right. So your pick is Hungrybox?
Yeah, for financial reasons, I'm going to say Hungrybox.
Okay, cool. You got 30 seconds.
Ambi, we were of one mind on this one. Yet although I do agree that Hungrybox is going to make $1 million, how do we define success? Is it by financial success? Do you have to make $1 million a year to be successful? And I know that Edwin hates capitalism, notoriously anti-capitalist Edwin. So I have to say it's still HBox. Even after all that, it's still going to be HBox. He's going to get 5th at like 2 events, and we're going to be like, oh, he's done.
Okay.
And then he's going to win
you win
10
this
in a row.
round also. 2-0 so far to Wheat. Okay. Next question. What month and year do we have our first LAN major back, and how many people enter the tournament bracket? Wheat, start off.
Damn. I mean, that's a tough one because it's like, how do you consider a major? Generally, what we consider majors is based on number of attendees. So that's kind of a hard thing to quantify. It's going to be in March 2022, I guess. And it's going to be it's going to be like 90% more spacies. 90% more spacies. 90% spacies. I think it's going to be all people who are like, it's still not safe. Like, we still shouldn't do it.
You got like 5 seconds.
And they're just going to be like, I'm betting it all in red. Like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to sip Faderade, pass the bottle over to my other Falco friend.
Okay, Ambi, you go.
Yeah, I kind of am on the same wavelength as we here, except I think that people are going to try to get it a lot earlier than 2022. I think that that's probably like a little bit too well-informed, safe option. I think it'll definitely be more in 2021. So not very much.
You're going to get like 500 people in 2021?
Yeah, it'll be very controversial. I think that like it'll happen in 2021. I think a bunch of people will go. No one will wear masks because they'll be like, oh, I got the vaccine.
What month and how many people do you think enter bracket?
Let's do 530 people, and it'll be in July.
Oh my goodness, that's horrifying. Okay,
Yeah,
Ambi wins this round.
Yeah, I also didn't answer like how many people would be there, so
yeah, that's fine. Okay,
It's not
next
fun, I lost.
question. If you could send Android Zero back in time, what is the most recent super major event that he would be considered the favorite to win? Ambi, you start.
The most recent, I think Android Zero would win the Big House one. I don't know if that counts as super major or not. I can't really think of anything larger than the Big House one that I would really, really consider Android Zero the super favorite. I'm definitely like very like old school melee pilled. I definitely think that they're really good. I think that, I don't know, looking at Dreffin, I think by itself makes me think that people from back then are still going to be really good. So I think the Big House one is my answer to this.
Okay, you go.
So I didn't realize we are going to be so Android Zero centered, but I'm actually going to pick something that he attended and did not win. which would be the most recent Super Major itself. I think he would be the favorite to win Genesis 7. If you were to send him back now, with what he has learned in the 9 months of the pandemic, I think if you send it back now, I think he's the first seed. And I don't see a way that Zane takes a game.
Okay,
if you watch Android Zero play, I think it's people aren't
Well,
even going to watch. They're going to be like, oh, he's going to win. Why even
well,
go?
that's just so obviously wrong. so
No, I mean,
so
did he
we're at
go
a
to Genesis
we're at
7? Yes. Did he win Genesis 7? No. But
okay,
Android Zero in December 2020 would have rocked them. It's
okay,
clear.
so we're at a tie game going into the final question of Melee
I
Stats.
deserve that point.
In 2021, Zane reveals that he is going to destroy the planet. The only way to save mankind is if one person can beat his Roy in a best-of-5 world annihilation match. With the fate of humanity on the line, who do you send to defend the planet against Don't Test Me? Wheat, you start.
I think this is Marth main propaganda, where it's all about Zane having the keys to destroying the world. I'm gonna say Ginger's Doc. There's something about you have the power when you are a Roy who is beating Falco. It's you can win, and if you lose, you still win. Yet when that person picks Doc and starts beating you or going even, it's what's your thing here? You have lost. You are now playing Doc versus Roy. It doesn't matter who even wins the set. At the end of the day, Zane has lost.
All right, Ambi, you're concluded.
So I think my answer depends on whether or not you allow human opponents and also non-human opponents. I think if you limit the question to human opponents, I actually think that the best answer is Bambi. Bambi definitely has a 100% win rate against Zane's Roy, as far as I'm aware. And I definitely think that Zane will spend all of his time preparing for actual characters, that it'd be pretty difficult for him to beat Bambi. If you allow me to pick a non-human pick, I actually
you got
pick
5 seconds.
X-Pilot's melee bot Phil. Easily destroys Don't Test Me. 100.
All right, Ambi, you have won Melee Stats speed round. So with that said, you now get a minute.
This is rigged.
It's a little bit rigged.
Now get a minute for your moment of fame or whatever.
Okay,
I should
just rant. Hold on, let me get my minute. I think Latin America is so good. I think Latin America is so insanely sick at the game, and if you don't follow Latin American players, you are messing up big time. I think that Kata has wins on Kobel and
yeah, Kata.
Lag beat Kodarin with Roy. What?
Yeah, Lag is a good pick for who would have beaten Roy. Or
Dude, Kata beat Zane's Roy. That's nuts.
Yeah, Kata would have been a good pick too. He did lose to Zane's Roy though, so
yeah, that's true that he dropped a set. So maybe humanity on the line, not so.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Let's go Latin America. You guys are sick.
Okay, why don't we go through some donation questions? I'll read them out loud. Question 1, $10 from Anonymous. Thank you. Hey guys, love that we are supporting charity. What are your guys' favorite guilty pleasure characters? Mine is Bowser. I don't know which of you wants to go on.
I think we talked about this beforehand. Edwin's the person who I play most ever since Slippy came out, and it's exclusively guilty pleasure. There's nothing that's not guilty about me playing Edwin, because it's me playing Puff and exclusively going for rest, or it's me thinking that my Game & Watch can beat his Falcon. It's it's all very dumb.
It's very 4 a.m. right before day 2 of a major.
Well, I'm playing at 4 a.m. and you're playing pretty lucid. You're just yeah, you're double lasering my Game & Watch or something.
But lucid, you mean I'm looking at the screen?
I think my pick would be Yoshi versus any other Yoshi while we're drinking Faderade. That was a classic from in-person events. If you saw me with Faderade in my hand, you were taking a sip and we were going to Yoshi Ditto. That was how it was.
That's so scary now. That's a very scary COVID future.
Everything about that sentence is scary.
Yeah. I definitely think mine. So a little while back, I know it's not going to like this answer. A little while back, I modded the game
oh my god.
So Bowser has this move called Koopa Claw, which grabs the opponent and you can chomp on him a bunch of times. I modded
Dude,
the
I'm
game.
not playing your wobbling
I modded the
Bowser.
game. I modded the game so that the timer never runs out and you can wobble with Bowser. And I've been trying to get Anoke to money match me for like $20
I'm
with
not playing
his
your
Marth
wobbling
against
Bowser,
my Bowser
dude.
with wobbling. He would destroy me. It would not be close, but he's been dodging me for like the last 3 years. Definitely Bowser with wobbling is my answer to this question.
All right.
Nobbling is what it's called.
Knobbling, clobbling, knobbling, whatever. Okay, so
Like
question
clobbling.
2 from Shoto NC. What would your dream top 8 for Ludwig's LACS 3 be, I guess? You guys are awesome. Thank you. I don't know. Like, is there such a thing as a dream top 8? I feel like the kind of stuff that we watch is usually like top 64 right before. Like we sort of like, if you've seen enough top 8s, you've like seen it all. You know, I don't know if I would have a specific dream top 8.
Yeah,
Do
I
you,
mean, I
do you
don't
guys?
know. Like we've talked about how the coolest thing is like round 2 pulls in a major. When you like
Yeah.
everyone's playing each other and you're going around and you're like, Dream's taking Spud to last game. It's like and
Yeah.
then someone else is like, oh, like this is it's like the coolest thing ever. It feels like you're like living history. And something about like top 8s feels so restricted. It's like only this many people can win. And then you look at it and like reality sets in. It's like, okay, out of these 8 people, how many can actually win? I would say my dream top 8 would be like Leffen, Amsa, some weird thing where somehow we're able to like connect to like places that like we can actually have Sweden versus Japan net play. So that's
I guess that's a good answer.
I think my dream top 8 is 8 Falcos. I think that would just be so funny, right?
And
like we have
none of
like,
them are
we have, like,
bones.
new. Well, we gotta have bones in here. We gotta have like
Nude, Slow
Bones,
King,
Slow
Kimzo.
King. We'll have 8 of them, dude, and they'll all be somehow in top 8. And I don't think that's ever happened in history, has it? Like 8 players at a major tournament all being the same character. Like, I think that'd be really funny, and for it to not be Fox would be extra funny because like everyone circle jokes about that.
Okay.
8
We're
Falcos.
not ready for the Kotaku articles. We're not ready for the discourse and the new tier lists.
Oh boy. So question 3 is $20 from Algebra 123230. Thank you, Damien.
Whoa, shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to Melee Stats. Which retired top player will return to Melee first, if any?
I think Hungrybox is coming back.
He retired for like a week. That doesn't count.
I think it's like Duck, right? Like we see Duck do this whole thing about he's retired and he's having fun cooking spaghetti carbonara or something like that. But I see those Chic videos. I see those things where it's like, actually, if you run off reverse bear, it's like, all right, man, it's only so
Duck
much
is a pretty good
longer.
answer.
I mean,
I'm gonna
actually,
go with
think it's
Ice.
fiction, but
Well, Fiction's he's playing.
he's retired. He plays Falco now.
Playing Falco's
Dude, he's beating
I
Bobby.
don't think he
He's beating
considers himself
Bobby.
active.
He's
Maybe
beating
I'm wrong.
Bobby
Maybe he does
and
think he's
Falco
active.
dittos, dude.
I think he's really good.
I would guess Ice, honestly. Maybe seeing Europe get a lot better. Maybe he picks up the motivation to start competing again.
Yeah, it's tough, like considering what's retired in the Slippy age, right? Like Hax is retired, right? He's entered like 2 tournaments since Roadblock came out, so that's basically retired. But I think if we start having real tournaments, I think he would be there all the time. So I think it's hard to describe like what retired is in the sense of Slippy. But all good answers. And shout out to Damien.
Question 4, $20 from Curly W, a Melee Stats patron. Thank you so much. As the Slippy team continues to work on setting up the long-desired ranked queue, what is wrong with Call of Duty players and their hatred of skill-based matchmaking? I'm actually not qualified to talk about this at all. Do you two have any thoughts on this?
I'm not getting into this.
I don't want to get too deep into it. I think it's reasonable for there to be an unranked queue that isn't matchmaking based. I don't know. I'm not too deep into Call of Duty or like that whole genre of gaming in general, but like I don't know. If you want to like test out a new character, like I'm just thinking about it from like the perspective of a Melee player, where it's like if I'm playing ranked and I want to like play Falco, like I don't want to play people that could beat my Fox with Falco. Like my Falco's bad. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said for it. I don't play that game, so I can't really say.
Do you have any thoughts? Or
I
no?
think this is so. You mentioned Carly W, a friend of ours. I think this is just a way for him to set up in a situation where not only are we hated by members of the Melee community, but now we can be hated by members of a different
Dude,
community.
I don't want to be hated by members of the COD community. They're gonna like insult my mom or something. Like those guys aren't just gonna tell me. Yeah, those guys aren't just gonna tell me I'm wrong. They're gonna like insult my family and shit.
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
all respectfully not answering this question.
Yeah. All right. So question 5, $10 from Anonymous. Thank you. What is the funniest or strangest tag you guys have seen on Unranked so far? There's a couple I can't say. There's a couple I don't know if I can really say it out loud, but there's a few funny ones. Like I like the ones that have some kind of like they incorporate like a character's name into like the name of like a celebrity or something. Like I've run into Karl Marth before, which I thought was
Is that
was
you?
pretty.
Aren't you Karl Marth?
No, I'm not Karl Marth. That's not me.
Are you sure? I
No,
could've
it's
sworn
not
I
me.
you played under Karl Marth.
Like
No,
I'm
it's
sure
not
that
me.
every single combination of someone like Karl Marx plus a Melee character is Edwin, but somehow Karl Marth I don't think is. Somehow.
I ran into Reed Lennon once.
I ran into that guy too. That was what I was about to say. I ran into that guy. He had really bad internet, and then he disconnected from me, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess
That's
I guess he needed to seize the means of internet. Sorry, my bad.
No, this is what we expected from you.
Yeah, it was sort of the free space.
Yeah, that doesn't count as a rant though. Come on.
Everything you say is a rant. I was playing on Wi-Fi until like this week, so I actually don't play on Unranked because why subject someone to that? So no answer. What do we got next?
Dude, this is
Question
18
number-
reviewer. 18 reviewers.
Oh hell yeah!
These are
18
rubbing it in.
reviewers. Let's go.
Prior to the nuclear
$10.
apocalypse, what was the 2020 Melee top 5? The reason 18 reviewer is asking this question because after Genesis, literally one tournament into the year, 18 reviewer posts in our Discord a list of his top 10 top 10 players in Melee, and I flamed him so bad for it.
We all get on his case.
There was one tournament, and you're already making a top 10 list. There's no way you could make this accurately. There's literally no way that the entire tournament infrastructure just stops and collapses. And there's a need to actually make an offline 2020 ranking based on one tournament. You're insane. This is ridiculous. And then the nuclear apocalypse did happen. And now I'm the one that's wrong. So rip me, I guess.
It was a hard read.
He really did.
Look, I respect that. People talk about the rest read by Mango at Genesis. The best read by a Puff player was 18 reviewer saying in like January or February of 2020, he's like, this is how it's going to be. We're not going to have any more tournaments.
Dude,
Yeah,
we gotta start
18
thinking about it.
Yeah, dude, 18 reviewers like geopolitical instincts is the real like that. I love 18 reviewer.
Great poster. What? Any other questions that we got from any donations?
None so far actually. I have some stats about Zane we could talk about. I guess if we have a little bit of time.
That's the most
I know
like
this is the
Marth
most
main thing.
Yeah, I know it's the most
You,
like Marth
you,
thing.
You roll up your sleeve. It's just like tattooed on you like memento.
Yeah.
It's like his win rate on FD is 85%. It's probably higher than 85%. Jesus.
So I actually think this is like kind of ridiculous looking at it. So obviously we're on the same page that like rollback is never going to be the same as CRT, but I think there's something to be said about just like I looked into Zane's stats against like the rest of his peers that he's been able to compete with, like including exhibition matches and stuff in rollback. And when you look at it, it's really like I don't think I've seen like it like last year I used to tell people, right? Because I had a whole series on this, or like earlier in the year about like peak primes, right? And I think for a long time, like Eric, you and I have talked a lot about like how absurd like the pound era of Mango was, right? The fact that he would like farm a really good player like Zoo with the secondaries and stuff like that. And I feel like for the first time in a long time in Melee history, we're seeing something kind of similar where one guy is just like so much better than his peers. And just kind of like quickly recap some stats for online events, like including before rollback and after. He's 6-1 against Mango, 3-0 against IBW, 3-0 against None, 1-0 against Leffen, 1-0 against Wizrobe, 2-0 against S2J, 2-0 against Spark, 1-0 against Captain Face Roll, 3-0 against Plup, 2-0 against Hungrybox, and he's 2-0 against Ginger with Marth. So like when you count all those sets together, that's like 26-1 all on online, and including just rollback, that's 19-1. Like I don't think I know Armada had like really like had that stretch of time where he just kept winning tournaments, but he would still like drop sets, you know? Like this is like a stretch of what, 9 months where a guy has played countless sets and lost one of them with his main character. Like I just think it's so it's so strange because like
Wait, how did he lose one? He lost a tournament. Oh, it was the single elimination. Yeah,
it was the one game or the one set.
Yeah, like I think it's.
So I don't know. I think that
crazy.
my take on this is I think it is a little bit deceptive, right? I do think
Well,
that
not
it's
just
like
because of rollback, right? Like it's a limited competition.
I think it's deceptive because of the player pool.
Yeah.
Like I do think that you know, he's done very well against Mango, who is he's done very well against IBDW. I think that like all of the sets that those two have played with Zane have been like really, really tight for the most part. I think that he hasn't really played Leffen, at least in like what I consider like a pretty reasonable lag environment. Like I know that they play 3-frame all the time, but like I don't
It's
know,
not
like
the
you're
same, right?
starting to divorce from like what's the tournament standard at that point, right? So like I think that when events come back and like people are actually playing in majors, I do think that Mango and IBW are still in striking distance from him. Like I don't think that I think those records are a lot closer than they show, just from like a, you know, pundit perspective, I guess. I think that Leffen has a really good shot against Zane. I think Amsa could still be a problem for Zane. I don't know. I don't really consider. Yeah, you know, I don't really consider Zane to have completely solved that. It depends on like how Amsa's doing. I don't really know. We haven't heard much from that guy in general.
Well, what do you guys think about Axe? I think if you ask like a normal Melee viewer, like the average Melee spectator, who's the biggest roadblock to Zane's success, I think a lot of people would say Axe.
Right.
What do you guys think about him coming into whatever, you know, 2021, 2022, whatever we're actually going to have in-person events at a consistent rate? What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know, I actually have the opposite perspective. So I like those of you who are familiar with our show from like way back when Zane was super up and coming. I had this like sort of running bit that Zane was only good at one matchup. And then like
before he
over
was
time,
suddenly not. It also wasn't a bit. It was your opinion.
Well, it was kind of a bit. It was kind of my opinion. But I do think that something that's really striking is that he's slowly just added different matchups over time, and he's like one by one fixed them. Like he used to be really bad versus Falcon, and now he's doing great versus Falcon. And like I don't know, I think that his sights are set on Pikachu. I don't really have that much faith for Axe in the future, but maybe he'll prove me wrong.
I agree. I think I don't know. Like we also used to do this podcast, and I said that given enough time, I think that Leffen would be like have no problems with anyone, right? But I do see that as something with Zane. I think given enough time, you know, maybe first couple sets that might be something where that might be a little scary, but at worst, it's going to be a toss-up as I see it.
Yeah, I agree.
With how Zane does, and the fact of the matter is that if that is your scary opponent, right? If your scary opponent is a character that kind of maybe not gets hard countered, but has a lot of issues versus a good deal to cast, then that's a pretty good thing. Yeah, like if Axe can't play Hungrybox or might lose to
like Trap Lord or something, you know?
Oh, so we got another donation question, also from Curly W. What is your favorite all-time Matt.Zeb set?
Matt.Zeb versus Leffen.
No, don't say that.
That's my New England answer.
I think my favorite is still the Kage one.
I think it's got to be Kage, right?
Yeah, I think that was so ridiculous. I have no idea why that was such a highly billed event for some reason. I still remember the trailer with Kage baring his teeth into the camera, and I'm like, why was this a thing? I don't understand.
Well, to balance out being too nice to Matt, I do remember one local against Zoso. I think it was a game over where he beat him in winners, and then in grand finals before going Marth in the second set. In the last game, he got four stocked in like 26 seconds. So that would be the second thing that comes to mind. So that way you get to balance the peak with getting run over in 26 seconds.
That being said, we appreciated Matt.Zeb's work on 5 Days of Melee. Absolutely. And we appreciated your time as the audience.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for watching. I think that we'll be kicking over to Untitled's West Coast 29 after this segment. So I'm not sure who will be commentating it, but I'm sure that they'll be doing a great job.
Take what we have said about all these unranked players and how good they're doing,
and send it to them.
and use that.
No, please.
Put that in your brain, and then watch Untitled 29.
And take all the mean stuff that we said about your favorite players and don't send it to them at all.
I love everyone.
Love you guys. Thank you.